Well, good morning. I'm Jeff Coleman.
And I'm Debra Pinkerton. Welcome to Morning Light.
In just a moment, our great Morning Light panel will go behind the headlines.
But first, here's a preview of what's coming up later in the show. Special Olympic events take place around the globe, transforming the lives of millions of people with intellectual disabilities. We first introduced you to Brenden Kenny back in October. Well, he will join us again to share his experience with Special Olympics.
Extraordinary young man.
I know, he really is.
Inspiring
So glad he's here. Plus, Pennsylvania artist Elva Hurst takes us on a journey of what peace on earth really means this Christmas through Chalk Talk.
She's quite a talent.
She really does.
Well, it is Thursday, December 19th, and it might fall short of being a miracle at Christmas. The world's richest man might have just felled Congress's mammoth Christmas tree spending plan. Elon Musk took to X to decry a congressional pay increase and at least $100 million in so-called disaster aid. He also endorsed the idea of shutting down the government until the new president takes office. President-elect Donald Trump joined his new spending czar in opposing the continuing resolution. But just how much influence should unelected influencers like Musk be able to exert on government? And how do you hold a man worth $454 billion, that's with a B, to any standard of accountability?
Well, it will certainly, we'll have to watch how it plays out.
It's new.
Sure.
I mean, this is a new thing. We like to try new things in America, and having these kinds of people around the president might be a good thing.
It could
We'll
be. And SpaceX, the exploration company led by Elon Musk, says it won't have its new Crew Dragon spacecraft ready for a planned February return to Earth. A new target date has been set for March. That means the pair of astronauts who traveled to the International Space Station for an 8-day mission will be extended to 9 months. And we have been tracking this remarkable story because of the very public faith of astronaut Barry Wilmore, the church elder from Texas who once said, "I didn't need to go into space to learn anything new about God. Holy Scripture is sufficient." So if Barry Wilmore can excel in sharing his faith in a very public way from space, why is it so difficult to share our hope with neighbors next door?
That's a great question, especially at Christmas. It should be easy.
It should be.
Christ is in the name of the holiday.
Right.
But sometimes we automatically disconnect those two things. So.
And also because we're so busy.
I tell you, I'm very challenged by this astronaut. And 181 years ago today, Charles Dickens introduced us to Scrooge and Tiny Tim and Jacob Marley and the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future with the release of his enduring classic, A Christmas Carol. Just 1 year before, Dickens recorded observations about Pennsylvania. That's right, he visited here in Pennsylvania, including stops in Philadelphia and Harrisburg and Pittsburgh during a great tour of the United States. So what lessons about our treatment of workers, the poor, and the chronically ill still hold true this year in 2024? We'll take these questions of the Morning Light panel this morning. I hope you've all gotten ready by watching A Christmas Carol last night, or at least reading it, right? I'm sure you have.
The official version, the Muppets version.
That's the Muppets version. Yeah. Luke, glad to have you back.
Thanks.
Megan and John.
Jeff.
Glad to have you. So, look, I don't think any of us expected to be talking about the spending plan in Washington, D.C., and none of us expected there was an agreement. There was some spending. The Speaker reached across the aisle, knitted together a last-minute deal to keep the government operational. Elon Musk looked at it. He went to X, Twitter, and said, "I don't like it," and it shut everything down, and now we're back to the drawing board again. The possibility of a government shutdown is real. President Trump chimes in, says, "I'm with you." John, you've been in government. You've been there. You've had to pitch budgets, and you've looked at budget cuts and argued. And bring us into this process of what happens when you have people on the outside of the building, which could be a very good thing, chirping in or tweeting in to the process.
Let me give you a quick context, because when you talk about transition, there's generally transition teams, so it's not unusual to have experts who have no connection to government look through that lens at government and make recommendations. To have this much power, apparently, is unique. So I think that's a good process. When you have a new administration coming in, you want to look with new eyes. Talking about a budget shutdown, government shutdown, I think it's really important that viewers understand what the impact of that, and it's on the employees who are still working. Now, in the state, employees are protected. I was part of, as Secretary of Corrections, first year under Governor Wolf. I was right in the middle of a long, drawn-out budget, the old blue line, right? And in Pennsylvania, the workers are protected. On the federal level, it's not. So one of the things that is concerning is, yes, I mean, Elon's brilliant and all this stuff. How adjacent is he to John Q, working man, working in a prison, in a federal prison, who's not going to get paid because of fraud, waste, and abuse? Well, that doesn't have anything to do with that individual, and his bills still
they're doing their job. They're in their lane.
Yeah, so someone needs to be a grown-up and protect that. I mean, certainly none of us want all that fat in a bill, but let's protect the person who's doing what we asked them to do.
Megan Martin, you are now part of an organization that is really the ultimate government watchdog in Pennsylvania, Commonwealth Foundation. For years, I was a part of that organization for years, holding the legislature accountable and the governor accountable, Republicans and Democrats, for spending. But how do you keep the people accountable to the public who aren't a Commonwealth Foundation, that have to be accountable to their donors, but also to the general public? How do you hold a single person accountable?
Well, I think that I learned a long time ago, Jeff, that you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with, so you have to choose wisely. And when our elected public officials are elected, they do that. But at the end of the day, I'm a lawyer, and I give my clients advice, but I'm just the advisor, and they have to make the decision. The decision lies with them, and the consequences of those decisions lie with those who are elected by the general public. And
the buck stops with the elected.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so it's up to the elected official, President-elect Trump. He can take Elon Musk's advice or leave it. And he might come out publicly and say, oh, I support this, but maybe behind the scenes there's some negotiations going on as well. We only see the tweet. We don't see the behind the scene conversations. But at the end of the day, it's the president-elect who is on the hook for his decisions, not his advisors.
Luke, speaking for John Q. Public here, well, how do you view this process of having someone on the outside with so much influence? And this is kind of an innovative thing, and if you're not a big government person, it might be exciting.
Sure. I think if it was working great, everyone would be horrified. And they'd be like, how dare you shut down this beautiful machine we've built that's doing such great things. That's not the case. Nobody's horrified, except for the guys who are literally getting a paycheck. It smacks of when people say, when someone says shut down the IRS, replace it, do it better, people go, but what about those poor IRS agents? And everyone goes, really? I'm not too sad about that.
That's a good perspective.
So it's I don't know. I might be a little bit hardline on that, but.
Yeah, I think this will be an interesting thing to watch, and we'll keep coming back to this story and maybe have you back on the panel to fill out the rest of it and still see if you think that way. This is going to be fascinating.
And if I could just add, I just think that government, like all of us, needs to learn to live within its means, and that's the bottom line. And I think that's the message that's trying to be sent. I might not always agree with the tactics, but that's
government on a diet.
But that's the underlying message.
They don't seem to get subtle messages either.
Well, this isn't subtle. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
All right, let's talk about being subtle with our faith. How's that for a segue? We've got an astronaut up there who is essentially preaching from outer space. Every time you look at Barry Wilmore, and his time gets extended from now 8 days to 8 or 9 months, maybe Easter. You look at him closely, and what is he talking about? The heavens declare the glory of God. He's talking about space confirming what he believes in his heart and what he knows about the truth of Scripture. But why is it so difficult for us, ordinary, non-astronaut people, in the work setting and other places to share our faith, when it doesn't seem that Hindus, Muslims, others who have deeply held convictions are as reticent to share their faith? What do you think, John?
Yeah, it was always a fine line for me, especially in a leadership position, which I think the last 20 years of my career I was, to strike that balance. You'd like to think your behavior would reflect that of your faith. And certainly didn't hide my faith, but to live the way he's living is it's so admirable. I have so much respect for it. But for instance, Department of Corrections, 16,000 employees, and certainly reflected the Christian running the agency, but not explicitly. In very rare circumstances was it explicit. We had an unfortunate death of a correctional staff, and in those circumstances, certainly you live your Christianity. But for the most part, I always felt like it was a difficult balance for a government employee.
Easy or hard for you? You've been in government spaces, and public spaces, and private spaces?
I don't think, maybe some of both, but I really try to live by the golden rule. and treat other people as I would like to be treated, and to me that's being a good Christian and a good human being. And I would like to think that the pendulum is changing a little bit, because last weekend we saw in New York City, up in Times Square, somebody rented out 27 of the billboards, the electronic billboards, and they told the story of the birth of Christ, and the music behind it was Silent Night, Holy Night, and the best part of the video that I saw was the reaction of the people on the street. And some people were brought to tears, and it was beautiful. So hopefully the pendulum is shifting.
Because there is a longing in the human soul that when you see Silent Night, Holy Night in Times Square, it's a little maybe grating at first, or unusual. Why is it here? And then you begin to say, this is probably exactly the right space it should be. Luke, easy as a filmmaker in an industry filled with creatives, or hard?
Hard. Difficult, I think, because you know, on one hand, from a purely professional perspective, there haven't historically been a ton of really, really, really amazing Christian movies. So the minute you say, like, I'm a Christian, people go, I don't know. I don't even want to read the script, really. I probably know where it's going. There's a sobbing salvation scene an hour into it, and that's the, you know, just don't get me started on that. But but from a personal level, I think I feel like what we're called to is, yes, to share the gospel when there is that kind of relational equity. There is that moment that opens, but I do think that there is a whole, you know, share the gospel in the way you live your life, and inviting people into your home, you know, inviting people into your life to see how you live and all of that. And so I don't know, I really respect somebody like him who can just go out there and publicly put it on a display.
I think, all of us together, and where those boundaries are. And I think more people than not want to hear why we have hope. I think that's the reality. Let's talk about a little Christmas hope. Take 30 seconds apiece and tell me look, we're over 180 years and we still watch A Christmas Carol, and we still get terrified when these ghosts come into Ebenezer Scrooge's window, and we still feel the finger in our chest saying we need to be different at Christmas. What is the message you take away from A Christmas Carol?
Yeah, it's the charity thing, you know, and I love how you always bring it to Pennsylvania. You know, and because everything starts in Pennsylvania.
It all does, that's right.
But it really, Pennsylvania is where charity is assumed. I've never lived in a community in Pennsylvania that charity wasn't just assumed and part of what you did, every workplace. And so that's the reminder for me, it's charity. You know?
30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I think the story dramatically holds true for a lot of reasons. But I think that what I take from it is just, where am I Ebenezer Scrooge, you know, in my own life? And in what ways am I overlooking people and just busy and focused on money or something else? You know, there is like a mirror being held up to me by that story.
Megan Martin, nobody would ever call you a Scrooge. What do you take away from A Christmas Carol, and why should we watch it this Christmas?
Well, thank you, Jeff. The lessons are timeless, and they're beautiful, and they're relevant no matter when the movie was made, today, tomorrow, and in the future. The lessons are timeless. We all need to be our best. We need to treat others with dignity, with respect, with kindness, with charity, and be a good human being. And that's what it's all about. And that's a message, I think, that is timeless and enduring.
Carry Christmas in our hearts.
Amen.
All year round.
All year round.
Well, thanks to our Morning Light panel for joining us today. Coming up on Morning Light, we introduce you to Brenden Kenny back in October. Last month, he participated in the Special Olympics Fall Festival at Villanova University. We'll share an update on how he did up next. Plus, our friend artist Elva Hurst weaves a beautiful gospel story into a Christmas masterpiece. We'll show you peace on earth later in the show. You're watching Morning Light on Lighthouse TV.
Did you know that Special Olympics is Pennsylvania's largest sports organization for people with intellectual disabilities? Back in October, we introduced you to Brenden Kenny. For the first time, he competed in powerlifting, qualifying for states, and he is here with us along with his mom. Thank you both for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Brenden, why don't you tell me about Special Olympics?
Well, it's my first time at the powerlifting, and my team practice on Sundays, and also my brothers train me good.
And what do you like about powerlifting?
I like to do doing a PR, and I get 185.
Wow, that is wonderful. So tell us more, Linda, about the events there at Villanova University. I mean, to qualify for states, that is wonderful.
Yes, that was, we were surprised. That was great. Again, being his first time, and that's what we were there just for the powerlifting. He did also practice for volleyball, but you're only allowed to participate in one event, so powerlifting was it. And our family and one of his nephews and nieces traveled to Villanova for the day, and he did great. Like he did say, he did get a personal best in the deadlift, so that was pretty exciting.
That is. And you brought some medals along with you. Why don't you show them to us and tell us about that?
Okay. I get my my powerlifting medals, and I like to wear it.
Oh, very nice.
And I get three medals, silvers, for my powerlifting.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Linda, how does it make you feel, and how do you see God working through Brenden?
We are very proud of him, and we said, you know, he's going to take us places. He is such a people person. He loves people, and we just want to help him reach his full potential no matter what he does in life. And so we're just very proud that God gave him to us and that he's our son.
Yeah, and the Christmas season is here, and this is such an exciting time. What does the Christmas season mean to you, and what do you value most of it?
Me and my family gather around to have fun and with games and lots of fun.
And you have a Christmas tree? You help decorate the Christmas tree? Wow. And Linda, tell me about it for you. What does Christmas season mean for you? You have a large family.
We do. And so we have a son coming in tomorrow, actually, from California. Another son, his wife, and two little granddaughters coming in on the 23rd from Washington State. And the rest of them are local, except we have a daughter in Alaska who will not be with us. But it's a large gathering, a lot of fun. I'm pretty tired at the end of the day, but it's all worth it.
Oh, yeah, such a special time to celebrate being together with family. So, Brenden, what does the future hold for you? What are you working on now? What else do you have up your sleeve?
Well, I'm working at it's a coffee shop, and I went there. I had to be there. I had to get up so early by 5:30.
Wow.
And then get there on time. I work by 7:30, and I work 2 days, like Wednesday and Friday.
Yeah, and that's wonderful, that coffee shop located, I believe, in Camp Hill.
Yes.
So definitely have to stop by there, and I know you're doing a wonderful job there, and you are certainly using God's gifts. Merry Christmas to both of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with
Merry
us.
Christmas.
You too.
And coming up next on Morning Light, Pennsylvania artist Elva Hurst grew up in an old order Mennonite church. She learned about Christ in her one-room school. Elva will share what the season means to her through Peace on Earth. You are watching Morning Light on Lighthouse TV. Welcome back. She is a self-taught chalk artist. We first introduced you to Elva Hurst back on Veterans Day. She uses art and storytelling to bring the gospel to life. With the Christmas being just less than a week away, Elva shares what the season means to her by sharing Peace on Earth. Elva, it's so nice to have you back. You're creating something wonderful here. Why don't you tell us about this Peace on Earth chalk talk?
Okay. Well, I tell you what, it seems nowadays Christmas has become so complicated, even stressful. But in my background, I went to school with the Amish in the one-room school, and our Christmas celebrations was quite simple, but very, very meaningful. And in this Chalk Talk, I try to take people back, reconnect with the Christ of Christmas and the Prince of Peace, and just help them with that connection.
Remind us, how did you get involved with Chalk Talk?
Well, after finishing school in the 8th grade, I went home to help my dad on our dairy farm, and in my spare time, I began to teach myself how to paint. I would paint pictures on whatever I could find around the farm, maybe some glass gallon jugs from Mom's attic, some slate from the barn roof, and so forth. And I started my painting career, learned oils, acrylics, watercolor, et cetera, et cetera. And then after I left the Plain community, we moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma to attend Bible college. And I was learning all about children's ministry there and looking for ways that I could teach the lesson that would hold the children's attention as I taught their lesson. That is when I believe, by the providence of God, I discovered an old book written nearly 100 years ago called Chalk Talk Made Easy. And I discovered that in my employer's closet, and I looked at it and I thought, oh my goodness, this is a great way to teach Sunday school. And so that's how it started for me. That was about 35 years ago, and I've been doing Chalk Talks ever since.
Oh my goodness. How do you weave the gospel into your artwork?
Oh, through music, songs, scriptures, and story. I just share my heart about what it means to have a relationship with God, and in every season. I have programs for all season and events and such, and I just kind of weave that in there, weave the scriptures in there, and try to help them to kind of draw them into those things that matters most, and that is God in our lives.
This piece is so inviting, so warm. It's like you just want to jump into this scene. How do you hope to make a difference?
Oh, well, create something pretty beautiful, make people happy. The lights, the picture, the story always makes me happy. Hope it helps their hearts too. But like I said, to just connect with the things that matter most and allow God to make a difference in their lives and realize how He can help them make a difference in their world.
And how is God making a difference in your life?
Oh, every day, His comforting presence of His Holy Spirit, His blessed assurance, I don't have to worry about a thing. His peace that passes all understanding means an awful lot to me in these times. And I like to express that in my art and my stories.
And each piece that you do, I'm sure, is just a little different.
Oh, yes. Yes. For example, this one in particular, it's kind of new for me. So every time I do it, it's kind of evolving. And like right now, I think I'm going to just add some chickadees right here. And maybe next time I'll add cardinals. Shucks, why don't I just do cardinals too? Let's do cardinals too. There we go. So, you know, little things. The main composition might stay the same as I premeditate that to illustrate the story that I'm telling. But little things sometimes change from drawing to drawing.
But no matter what you're doing, it's a message
Yeah,
that you're sending to people, giving them hope and giving them inspiration.
Yes, that's why they're called Chalk Talks. I believe it's an art that talks.
Elva, thank you so much for this beautiful artwork. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks for having me. It was my privilege. Thank you.
And if you would like to book Elva for an event or check out more of her artwork, go to elvaschalkart.com. Stay with us. We're back right after the break. Welcome back. Here is a final look at artist Elva Hurst's Chalk Talk on Peace on Earth for this Christmas season. Picture is so inviting, so well done. Thank you so much, Elva, for sharing your talent with us. And coming up tomorrow on Morning Light, a Pennsylvania church is celebrating the joy of Jesus' birth through music and a Christ-centered message. You will get to see some of their specials right here on Lighthouse TV. We will have a preview of what you can expect. And that's a look at what's coming up tomorrow on Morning Light. Now, Jeff, your closing thoughts.
Well, thank you, Debra. Well, in one of the closing scenes of A Christmas Carol, old Ebenezer Scrooge makes a promise to the ghost of Christmas past after a terrifying night confronted by a life lived for self at the expense of others. You'll remember that pledge, I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. Well, Christmas isn't a bad time to take a little look back, just a little, at the names and the faces of people we might have overlooked or looked right through or even written off. The difficult people, the unreasonable people, the ones who've been unfair to us in daily life, or those who didn't easily fit inside our life plan. The true spirit of Christmas is Christ, the ultimate picture of sacrifice and selflessness, His life exchanged for ours. So when you're done reviewing the past, look forward with hope. For Debra and the entire Morning Light team, I'm Jeff Coleman. Thanks for watching. Go check on your neighbors, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning.